Um, comes with the new seat, the new needle, the gasket, and that little tiny hook, that little tiny spring. It's like a hook that you hang your needle from. So we'll set that in a safe place for now. And you will take the gasket and put it on here, like so. We'll go ahead and put that down in there, making sure that our gasket stays. There we go. Now we can see everything's tight and flush, and that's the way it should be. So we'll go ahead and assemble the little hook on the float needle. Okay, now this is more difficult than it looks because I'm like kind of doing it while I'm watching two things here. Well, what you want to do is just go ahead and fish this little hook. Pair of needle nose pliers now. See if I can get a good angle. And we'll just snug that thing on there like that. And that's it. And it will just hang on the float, the back of the float like that. Got the float here. And this will just hang on there like that, and that's all there is to it. So we'll go ahead and put this float back in here. See if I can get a nice and close here. There we go. So we'll take the float, and if you remember that float pivot, did I find it here? Here we go. If you remember the float pivot, and the curved side will actually point towards the top, and it's just gonna kind of just go in here like so, and through the other hole. And you'll just set it right down into here, making sure that the float needle goes in its little seat there, and it just sets down in. And that's all there is to that. Just lift it up, it goes through the float and just sits right down in, making sure that the needle's in there, it's hanging good, and it fits right down in the slot. And it just sits there. That's all there is to it. So right now, your instructions call out for you to use your handy dandy little measuring device here. And when I showed you, we looked at the numbers on the side of the carburetor, and that's 17080561. And in the kit comes a set of instructions, and they're all for different makes and models. And when I'm looking down in the Mercruiser, so as you can see here in the instructions that it comes with, I'm running a Mercruiser. It's a 1987 260, and it's 17080561 was the number on the side of my card. And we're going to come over here, and this is going to be your float level, and it says 1/4 of an inch. So what we want to do with that is we take our little handy dandy measuring device, and we're just going to mark. Don't forget, one side is millimeter, and we're going to want this side right here. So we're going to take this and we're just going to mark 1/4 of an inch on here. We're going to take the float and we're going to push it with your hand, and don't put a lot of pressure so it lifts up out of its pivot point, but you'll feel it stop. You actually hold down with the pivot point with your finger, and you're going to stop it right there. So let me turn this on its side here. So you're going to measure from the toe of the float to the top of the bowl, and we want that to be 1/4 of an inch, and you can see that this lines right up. Let's see if I can get it here. You can see that this lines right up with 1/4 of an inch, and if that didn't line up, what you would do was take the float out and you would bend the float up or down using a pair of pliers, and you would actually take and bend this float up or down so that when this was lying level, that you would get that measurement of 1/4 of an inch. And different carbs have different measurements, but you want that to be almost perfect. Well, you do. You want it to be perfect. If it's not perfect, then this is all for nothing. That's just one of the measurements that you want to be dead on, and take your time when doing it, because a lot of taking your time here will surely pay off down the road. Go ahead and put in our float cover, and this actually keeps this pin from coming out. It kind of like holds it in there. Okay, now I've gone ahead and reassembled my metering valves, and I just put them on the same exact way. If you would have taken a picture, you could see. I actually got to thinking, and if you don't want to take this apart and just leave it alone and just clean these off really good, you could probably do that. I just prefer to take it apart, but to each his own on that. But I went ahead and reassembled it. So now that I got this together, we're going to go ahead and assemble this. I went ahead and took off the float bowl cover just so you could see what's going on in here. So the first thing you want to do is don't forget your spring. Go ahead and put that into there, and we'll set that in. And you just want these metering rods to go right inside the holes in the jets. And be very careful. These are fragile and they do bend very easily. They're very soft and they will bend, and if you bend them, it's bad. So just be very careful and just align them into the holes in the jets. And once you got everything lined up, it'll just kind of fall in place. There we go. Now we're going to take and push that plastic ring down in there. It's kind of a retainer, and it is like a press fit. And if you got it together right, you will see that they kind of just goes up and down, and the rods just go up and down right in there inside the jets. Okay. So now, after we have that, we'll go ahead and put on our cover. There we go. Everything's sitting tight.